All right, I want to talk a little bit about how printing money is bad for the long term. And so some people call this the tech bubbles or the tech bubble or hamster wheel work if you're outside of the technology field, which I am very deep into the technology field at this point. But what this is, the tech bubble or the hamster wheel or the printing money machine, is this idea that you can learn one or two skills and then just repeat the skill over and over and over and over again and just print the money. A good example of this is when I first opened my business, Windows 10 was just releasing. So when Windows 10 just released, it came out pretty terrible. It was a very buggy, disastrous, data-losing mess. And so two of the services I offered was backing up all the data, making sure your data was secure, and then getting the Windows 10 upgrade and making sure that everything transferred and you didn't lose all of your data. And the other service I offered was simply preventing Windows 10 from updating. And so you would keep your Windows 7 or your Windows 8 or your Windows 8.1, and you don't have to worry about this mess of Windows 10 that was at the time 5 years ago. And I printed money on that. It was one of those two services that I offered that I could just, do rinse, wash, repeat, over and over again. And that is a tech bubble or a hamster wheel or printing money, as people would call it, because it's not involving a new skill at this point. It's just something that I'm doing over and over and over and over again, almost like a fast food employee would do, making the same 4 hamburgers over and over and over and over again. Once they learn how to do it, all they're doing is sitting there just printing money. They're not learning a new skill anymore. And that's one of the dangers you want to avoid as a small business owner or even as a technician or just as a person in general, is avoiding running out, because eventually you're going to move past it. Eventually we're going to stop eating hamburgers from fast food. It might be 400 years, but eventually it's going to stop. Everything eventually is going to stop. And so being able to simply just, use, rinse, wash, repeat is going to die at some point. And so to keep yourself relevant, you have to continuously change. So one of the things that happened during this pandemic the past year and a half is that people started working from home. And people started moving out of big cities and coming to places more like where I am at, where it's a little more open and there's a lot more space. And they pretty much bought all the land and housing. But one of the things that the housing and land doesn't have out here is very great internet. And so during the pandemic, one of the services I've been able to really pick up and start tech bubble or hamster wheeling or printing money on is setting up these home offices. So I'll show up and I'll set up the printer. I'll rerun new cabling in a house. I'll set up a new Wi-Fi mesh network. And these are like 3 or 4 skills that I've had to critique myself on and learn. And here comes a sneeze. Ooh, a sneeze made me lose my train of thought. But that's one of those things that I've had to learn over the past year or critique myself on, is how to better run cabling in walls and through cross studs, and how to quickly set up printers and simply get a home office set up as my customer might expect or want it to be. And I'm able to just run that tech bubble, run that hamster wheel over this pandemic and do this exact same service. But the problem is that while I'm doing that as a service, I need to go ahead and start preparing myself for what is the next tech bubble, what is the next hamster wheel. And that's one of the things that most people in the technology field have to continuously do. It's not just simply, learn to make 3 hamburgers and then you can pretty much do that for the rest of your life if you wanted to. But while you're doing that, you need to go ahead and start building up that next skill and learning the next step in your career or your life or whatnot. And so whenever you're at work doing something, try to figure out, are you running the hamster wheel or are you building a new hamster wheel? And just try to continuously progress. So one of the good examples is that I've been doing weekly live streams for 2 years now with another really good friend. And at the very beginning, the first few months, it was definitely building a new hamster wheel. I personally was learning a lot of skills, and now that we're 2 years in, I think the skill growth is shrinking, and we're more just running the same hamster wheel after a couple years of doing this. We had to switch it up a little bit when the pandemic started, and we're no longer able to be side by side, and we switched to doing the weekly live streams over the internet, and so we were doing video call live streams, and that jumped us off the hamster wheel for a minute. We'll learn how to do it this way, learn how to be able to hold a conversation well over a video call rather than face to face. And now I think we figured that one out pretty well. And now we're just running that same hamster wheel again. And so now I'm doing something like this, where I no longer have another person to talk to. So even though this hamster wheel may be related, it may be cog wheeled together in a way, and I'm using a lot of the same skills, I'm no longer having that other person to talk to. I'm building a new hamster wheel with this skill. Will it ever come in handy? I don't know. Hopefully, me being able to talk to a camera does come in some type of use later on in life, but, we don't always know what the future holds. And so, one of the things I would look for is always figuring out, what are your current hamster wheels? What are you currently making money on? Or is it just virus removals or installing SSDs and getting computers faster? Those are hamster wheels at this point for me. I know how to remove a virus. I know how to install an SSD and install Windows 10. Those are skills I learned several years back, and I've just been hamster wheeling those. But now it's, what is the next step? And a lot of that might be server setup, learning how internet working and IP addressing and port forwarding and all of these security firewalls. That might be the next step in doing more professional grade enterprise networking level. But it's just continuously having enough hamster wheels running to keep you going versus building more hamster wheels to keep you going in the future. And it's just a constant morbid cycle of hamster wheels. And that's pretty much the video lesson for the day, is that always try to build a new wheel, reinvent that wheel. And on that, I think I'm going to go get some barbecue for lunch, because I've changed topics 3 times today trying to figure out something to talk about. And I think this one stuck. I'll see y'all probably Tuesday.